Hello once again, everybody, and thank you for joining me here on this Tuesday, March 24th edition of Bang the Book Radio. I'm your host, Adam Burke. We'll be on here for 30, 35 minutes, something like that, with Brian Blessing, the host of Sportsbook Radio and Vegas Hockey Hotline. We'll chat some NFL free agency, the trade market, everything going on out there with the NFL futures odds. But we're going to spend a lot of time on today's show talking about horse racing, how to look through the program, how to gauge past performances, some of the bet types, and some of the other things that you want to be looking for out there. Because, look, there's not a whole lot to bet on right now. Horse racing still going relatively strong. Hopefully we sustain that. But we'll talk some horse racing on today's show as well. And been talking some horse racing over at BangTheBook.com. Hit the daily double for the Fairground Oaks and also the Louisiana Derby over the weekend. So hopefully you read those and got involved with those. We'll be doing some more horse racing stuff here throughout the week and in the subsequent weeks here as well. Run up some stuff on the AFC and NFC division odds. Early college football games of the year have been posted out there at BetOnline Sportsbook. Some of the New Jersey sportsbooks have them as well. So I wrote that up over at the website. So trying to keep busy, trying to find stuff to talk about. Talked about a lot on yesterday's edition of the Bettor's Box, my MLB betting podcast. So make sure you check that out as well. And finally, as you know, this and every edition of Bang the Book Radio presented by our friends over at DSI Sportsbook. BTB and the number 200 is that promo code. 100% deposit match bonus for the sportsbook, 100% deposit match bonus for the live casino at BetDSI. It's only a game until you bet it. One guest joins me here, as he always does on Tuesdays. That is Brian Blessing of Sportsbook Radio and Vegas Hockey Hotline. Brian, how's it going today, man?
Another day, my friend.
It is. It is another day.
Just,
another day of what's become our new normal, I guess.
The new normal. You and I getting ready to start doing this. For some reason, we're having some internet issues that I think in the valley here, they're in Vegas, they're working on this, and it's like it's been sporadic and intermittent, and they're, whatever. It's great, though. The one thing you got to, keep your sanity and keep in touch is even taking a little hit out here for, I'm sure it'll be just a little bit, but an odd morning.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to say, I mean, obviously I know that locals out there just try to avoid the strip unless they absolutely have to go there. But all these images of the empty strip, man, and like the ducks from the Bellagio fountains are just walking around at the entrance to Paris, walking around all over the place. It's surreal to see these images, man.
Yeah, I mean, and from a Vegas perspective, it's going to be really, really something to see how the impact of this even look, 4 months down the road. Let's see, okay, knock on wood, this thing whittles its way down. We're all safe, we're all healthy, but just your normal daily existence. I mean, every little facet of what you do on a daily basis, and then you're going to have, how long is it going to take people to say, okay, I'm going to hop in a plane and go somewhere. So, how that's going to impact Vegas in time and how long all this will take to come back. I mean, there's no doubt it's an event destination locale, but that's another thing on the back end. So there's a long road to hoe here.
Yeah, there really is. And, obviously a lot of talk about maybe bailing out the casino industry. We know Caesars has been having issues with that proposed merger with El Dorado and how Caesars, their value is just in the tank. MGM, their stock's been bouncing around. We all know Penn National's been down quite a bit. It's crazy times now in the industry for everybody. It's not just the sports side, where you and I are with, everything pretty much being down right now, but just all these casinos being closed. We never thought we'd see the day that would happen. A lot of people struggling out there, and definitely, our thoughts with everybody that's having a hard time here, on behalf of Bang the Book. But it's again, I keep going back to that word, man, just surreal. I love Vegas. I go out there 2-3 times a year. I'm going to go out there as soon as I possibly can once again, but it's just crazy to see those places empty and dark and, the signs out front, messages of hope as opposed to advertising shows and residencies. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. It puts into perspective how much shit I've taken for granted, not just with my life in general, but especially with those trips out there to Vegas.
Well, if you want the oddest thing of all of it, when you're on the strip, and that's pretty much where they are most of the time. It's like not a flatbed truck, but it's a truck that's got the LED board on it. that drives around and has all the, promoting all kinds of things. There's about 50 of them driving around down there. I mean, they're driving around, and the message on the thing is stay home.
Wow. Wow. I guess there's really nothing that puts it more in perspective than that. I mean, they're advertising for escort services usually, and now it's just, stay home. And again, hopefully this is something that's shorter than it is longer, but I guess we'll kind of wait and see how everything plays out. And, look, I got to say this, March has been a very long year so far, but at least there's been a lot that's gone on with regards to the NFL side of things. Free agency, trades, transactions, futures odds moving around, all sorts of different stuff. We talked about a lot of things last week, but then, of course, a lot more news kept breaking throughout the day on Tuesday.
And you got one this morning.
Changing. Yeah, another one this morning with Cam Newton. You know what? I will say this, man. I mean, with so much focus and emphasis on the NFL, everyone's going to be ready for the season, and those futures markets should be rather robust.
Oh, listen. A lot of places have been starting to do stuff, and it's Circus Sports. Whatever it was last Monday or over the weekend, they put out NFL season win totals and odds to win the division. And wow, okay, we got something to talk about. Yesterday, about 15 hours ago, they put out Tom Brady regular season stats, 4,200 and a half yards. Regular season touchdown passes, 29 and a half. Regular season interceptions, 8.5. Regular season rushing yards, 19 and a half. Regular season touchdowns, over under 1.5 plus $1.50. I'd take a flyer on that one. I would take the over at plus $1.50. There's no one better at the quarterback sneak, or has been better at that in the last 15 or 16 years or whatever the hell we're dealing with him. No one's been better at that than him. He walks up, quick snap, and he I take a little flyer on that thing. That may be the safest of the lot to me, because I think there's a lot of question marks and gray areas and transition. Maybe regular season interceptions over 8.5. Where the lack of familiarity with wide receivers and the system and stuff that tipped passes, maybe the interceptions thing and the rushing touchdowns would be the safest of those two for me.
Well, and especially too because Tampa Bay has got a lot of protection issues, as we know. I mean, that was it wasn't all the protection's fault that Jameis Winston threw 475 interceptions last year, but he was under duress relatively often, and obviously Brady is going to be under the same level of duress. But we're a week removed now from Brady basically saying, well, I'm not going back to New England and winding up here with Tampa Bay. New England, it's Brian Hoyer and Jarrett Stidham. And I can't imagine that that's the way that they're going to go into the season here. But right now, it's Stidham and Hoyer, and the Patriots are still the favorites over your beloved Buffalo Bills. Do you think that dynamic changes? Do you think the Patriots wind up actually getting, a more proven quarterback? What are you sort of reading into that?
Yeah, I've seen that both of them were at 8.5, and the Patriots were plus $1.20, and the Bills were minus a dime. What I'm seeing, technically, Buffalo would be the favorite, and I would think, and we'll see what ends up happening. But the Bills had 10 wins last year, and they've had a terrific free agency period. They got 10, I thought 7 was a bad number for them last year. I think 8.5 is a bad number for them this year. I think they've gotten markedly better. 10 would be the floor for me. I think it's a 10-11 win team at least.
Now let's talk about the New Orleans Saints for a second here, because they pick up Emmanuel Sanders, and Drew Brees didn't look great at the end of last year, even though he had missed some time. We figured he'd kind of be fresh in the stretch running into the playoffs, and didn't really look all that good late in the year. But now Michael Thomas has somebody that can actually occupy a defensive back, because this is a guy that, he's really either fought through double coverage or triple coverage, or has had to be the benefactor of somebody like Alvin Kamara, getting some respect from a safety, something like that. Now they get Emmanuel Sanders all of a sudden, and all that money got pumped into Tampa Bay, getting Tom Brady and making some of the other moves that they've made. I mean, to me, Saints minus $1.25, minus $1.30 to win this division is too cheap, in my opinion.
No, I'm on board with that. I look at some of the division odds. The AFC South's a little squirrely. We can talk about that, but I'm with you. I'm actually seeing the Saints at Circus Sports minus 105.
Well, that's a great number.
And the second choice of the Bucks at plus $1.25. The Brady thing is going to be a soap opera. That's going to be cool to watch. And believe me, you'll get plenty of chances because when the schedule comes out, Tampa Bay's going to be on at least. That'd be a great number. Over under 4.5 primetime games for Tampa Bay. They're going to do that. But the protection issues, the offensive line, and the running game, I think that it's fair to say there are question marks about the offensive line and the running game. And then the other thing, and you're not diminishing Brady's legacy in any way, shape, or form, but it remains to be seen how much of that was those two guys, Belichick and Brady, the system approach, because it didn't matter. I mean, my God, they win a Super Bowl with Troy Brown playing on both sides of the football. How much of that success for Brady was system and Belichick related? Brady goes on his own, and Arians a real sharp guy, and he's going to do some cool things with Brady, I would think. But it bears watching. I don't know that it's this automatic. The one thing that's different is Brady won't lose games that Winston lost. Winston had some electric, crazy games, but he also had games that were winnable that he made a horrid decision. But it's a different dynamic. Brady's not mobile like Winston. Everything you said, if the pocket's collapsing around him. But with the Patriots the last couple of years, everything was all this underneath stuff to Edelman anyway. When's the last time you saw Brady throw a pass over the top? I mean, he's got guys that can do that now, and Goodwin and Evans.
Yeah, and that's the big question. How much is he able to go downfield? How much abuse does he take early on in the year? I mean, he's obviously not a spring chicken, as we all know. Does he start to wear down in the back half of the season after, getting hit more often than he was with New England? That's something you got to consider here a little bit too. And also, I mean, look, the Saints, they thread this needle every offseason where it feels like they don't have any money, and yet they find ways to spend money wisely. They cut guys, they trade guys, they fit in guys like an Emmanuel Sanders. They, give Drew Brees a couple more years. They get Malcolm Jenkins at a pretty good price. They do a lot of really, really smart things. Saints minus 105 is actually an excellent grab that's out there.
But by the way, buddy, I was just looking though. I'm like, I don't even know. I mean, quick, while my internet's still working, I clicked that depth chart. Ryan Griffin is the backup for the Bucks. So have a nice day if Brady doesn't stay upright.
Preseason superstar Ryan Griffin. He's been very, very good in the exhibition period of the year, but not a whole lot of run during the regular season, which is obviously very, very concerning. Speaking of the NFC South here, you mentioned it off the top of the show here. Cam Newton, released by the Carolina Panthers. They couldn't find a trade partner. And, of course, with the injury concerns for Cam Newton, and, of course, teams not doing physicals right now because of coronavirus and all that, it was going to be an uphill battle to try and find a trade partner for him. He'll find a landing spot. Now it's Teddy Bridgewater and Kyle Allen in Carolina. What is the landing spot for Cam Newton? I mean, where do you see him kind of fitting?
Just out of curiosity, I'm pretty sure didn't Kyle Allen got traded to the Redskins, didn't he?
Oh, did he? Oh, my apologies.
No, I think so. Yeah, no, it's Bridgewater.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're right.
But no, so it's Bridgewater. I mean, that's bottom line is, I mean, you got to have the starting point, and so life begins anew, and no riverboat Ron and all that stuff. But that division, and I would say this, Atlanta's a squirrely team. Atlanta. I was honestly impressed with Atlanta when their season was complete toast. And you're like, they got to get rid of the coach. They got to do it. And they came back after the bye, and they didn't go quietly into the night. Atlanta's, I think still marginally interesting. I don't think they're horrific.
I like Atlanta. I mean, if you gave me like a prop bet of Atlanta to finish higher than Tampa Bay, I don't think I would have a hard time making that play. I really don't think I would, even though Tampa Bay is a play-on team based off of last year to a degree, because they scored 458 points. They were +9 in point differential, but finished 7-9. They're kind of a play-on team anyway. But I mean, I like Atlanta. I do. I think there's a lot of really good personnel there. Maybe Dan Quinn now with a second chance, or some could argue a third chance. Maybe that winds up working out. Matt Ryan was pretty good last year. If they stay healthy on defense, they're a relatively dangerous team. I wouldn't be the least bit shocked if the NFC South goes New Orleans, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Carolina. I would not be surprised if Tampa Bay finishes third.
Well, the Bucks are 8.5 over $1.40, and that's a lot of steam on the Brady news. And the Falcons are 7.5 over $1.30. I mean, it's from a starting point, at least on paper, it's only a difference of a game.
Yeah, what? Maybe Falcons finish higher than Tampa Bay plus 200 or something? That too high?
No, I think you might get that because of the money, if it correlates out this love affair with Brady going there. I think they'd probably hammer that to the point where you'd get plus $1.75, $1.80.
Transitioning back to the AFC here for a second, I want to ask you about the AFC West. I mean, Kansas City's probably going to win this division again and should probably do so without a whole lot of competition. But that being said, a lot of people here over the last few days singing the praises of the Los Angeles Chargers, like what they've done here in free agency, like the idea of giving Tyrod Taylor the keys to this offense. I thought maybe the Chargers would try to take a shot with Jameis Winston, surround him with all the skill position talent, see what happens, with an actual running game and backs that can catch the football. But they seem content to go with Tyrod Taylor. So as somebody who's seen a lot of Tyrod Taylor, what do you think about that and the Chargers' futures hopes here?
For every game Tyrod Taylor in, he will lose one. I mean, it's that simple. He's does a lot of amazing things. He's electric. He makes plays. He's a water bug. He's just, he's going to make plays with his feet. He's going to win games. But he's limited to a degree. A lot of it's personnel, too. He throws a great deep ball. There's a lot of good things about Tyrod Taylor. But the lasting memory of Tyrod Taylor for me was the Bills make the playoffs against the Jags in a game where the first score wins the game because both defenses were that good. The Bills have it 1st and goal at the 1. The defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator paid for it with his job. But on 1st and goal at the 1, they throw a fade route. Now, okay, stupid call to begin with, but I think you're making that call saying the quarterback's going to throw it where it's his guy or nobody that's going to catch it, and Taylor got intercepted. What was the final of the game? I don't remember. 10-7?
10-9, 9-7.
Yeah, something like that. So that's my lasting memory of Tyrod Taylor.
I mean, the Chargers have made some pretty decent upgrades on the defensive side, getting a guy, like a Chris Harris, like a Linval Joseph, stuff like that. But, I don't know if Tyrod Taylor is the guy. And I have to think, to me, at least in my estimation.
They're drafting a guy. You know that. It's just but Taylor starts. It's the same thing. Where the hell did he go? No, Tyrod Taylor, right? Started the season. How long did it take until, the guy's looking over his shoulder? How long did it take for Baker Mayfield to get in there? So you're going to be dealing with the exact same thing here. They're going to draft a quarterback, and Taylor's going to have a good game, then he's going to have a bad game, and you're going to be 5 games into the season, and they're going to, be 2-3 or 3-2, but if he strings 2 bad games together, everybody's going to say, put the rookie in. I mean, that's this guy's career in a nutshell.
So if the Chargers are going to go with Taylor and he's going to be, keeping the seat warm for the 6th overall pick, or if they decide to trade up or something like that, is the only landing spot for Jameis Winston down in Jacksonville? I mean, is that it at this point?
I haven't read it. Is he a possibility in New England? I mean, is it Andy? If you're Belichick and you trust his judgment, and if you're trusting his judgment, letting Brady go may speak volumes for starters.
Right.
If you're Belichick, I can utilize Cam Newton's athleticism and blah 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 and coach him up to the point. This is the dangerous thing, or does he go with the pylonish pocket guy and keep running his system with an Andy Dalton type? Or do they draft a quarterback?
Yeah, it's funny. I forget Andy Dalton's just kind of hanging around out there waiting for a job too. There are some interesting quarterbacks that are out there on the market that may end up having to go to teams where they're in a quarterback competition or where they're going to wind up being the backup, and that's going to be kind of fascinating. I mean, I think it's smart what the Browns did, getting a guy like Case Keenum to back up Baker Mayfield, and quite frankly, push Baker Mayfield to the point where if Baker's not the guy, they have a competent backup now they can run out there. But you wonder about, Andy Dalton and Cam Newton and Jameis Winston, and are these guys even going to wind up getting starting jobs? It's crazy to think that they might not.
Well, the one thing it clearly would do is keep their salaries down. I mean, if you're saying, yeah, you're coming in, but you're competing for a job, you're not giving some guy, $18 million a year to come in and get in a quarterback battle in camp.
Right. Well, I mean, you look at a guy like Marcus Mariota and then the Derek Carr situation there with the Raiders now. I mean, is that a full-fledged quarterback competition whenever the preseason gets started? I mean, do you give Mariota that kind of money to be a competent backup? I don't know.
Let me look. What kind of money?
2 years, 17.6, fully guaranteed first year at 7.5.
Well, I mean, you watched last year, right, with the Hard Knocks thing, what they loved. Who was it? Peterman and the big guy used to be with the Bears, Glennon, right? And Gruden loves his quarterbacks, right? He thinks he can coach them up, and maybe a change of scenery for Mariota works. Maybe it doesn't. I still think, for all the holes you want to shoot at him, I still think Carr is the better quarterback.
Well, and I don't remember a free agency cycle like this with such a quarterback carousel. I mean, it's kind of fun, because you're going to have some teams that are going to be moving young with the guys that come out in the draft. You're going to have some teams that are, obviously trying to hold on with these older quarterbacks like a Brady, like a Breeze, something like that. And then you're going to have some of these other teams that just, Chicago. I mean, you get Nick Foles. Does Nick Foles wind up in a quarterback competition with Mitch Trubisky? Probably. What does Pittsburgh try to get somebody in the event that Ben Roethlisberger falls apart again?
They better.
It's very intriguing. It's fascinating. And then, of course, you've got, how much money is Dak Prescott going to command down in Dallas? I don't remember an offseason with this level of quarterback intrigue, and obviously, being able to focus on it more with nothing else going on.
That's it.
To watch.
That's part of it. I think we were so starved for stuff, but beyond that, you tell me. This was one of, it's the top of the list for me in terms of, unless maybe it's right in front of my face and I'm going over the top on it, but this was such an impactful free agency period, just insane. Really impactful free agent signings, but deals that I think have massive impact. I go back to the Bills. I mean, first of all, okay, you get Hopkins, go Arizona. I mean, what Arizona did via the trade route, what the Bills did getting Diggs, and people shoot holes. Oh, well, they did this and they did that, and they gave up all this. What did they give up? Basically what they gave up with the whatever it was, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth, I believe, in addition to the one. All that was, it added up to moving from the 22nd pick. That was the formula to move from the 22nd pick to the 18th pick. And they were drafting a wide receiver with the first pick. So they're sitting there going, we'll take Diggs. He's better than any one of these kids, at least at the moment. So, and that was their glaring need. They didn't give up a lot for him. And they're the only team right now in football that has 2,000-yard receivers on their roster. John Brown had a great year last year, and his game was usually to be the complimentary guy that would go over the top, and he only went over the top 2 or 3 times last year. Now, you got these two guys on opposite sides of the field that can actually stretch the field with Beasley wide open underneath. That's very impactful. That was the Bills' main thing, and they addressed it. And they'll probably, their other glaring need they'll address with the second and third round picks, and that's on with their day. I mean, they did. I think it was a great job what they did in free agency, and they're not alone. I think numerous teams did that.
One last thing here, and obviously there will still be a lot of moving parts over the course of the summer. We got the draft in a little bit under a month here. And, of course, we don't even know if they're going to play 16 games this year, what the preseason will look like, anything like that. But going into last year, in 15 of the 16 previous NFL seasons, a team went from worst in its division to first in its division. Last year, that didn't happen. Second time in the last 17 NFL seasons. In fact, the same 4 teams won their divisions in the AFC last year. 2 of the same teams in the NFC won their divisions. The 49ers were the closest. They were the third place team in the NFC West. They went 4-12. Then they obviously won the division last year, went 13-3. I look at the teams that were at the bottom last year: Miami, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, the Chargers, Washington, Detroit, Carolina, Arizona. I don't think any of those teams can win their divisions this year. So I think it's going to be a second straight year of nobody going worst to first. And it's funny, too, because I think there's a lot of top-heavy parity in the NFC and the AFC for this season. But I think there's a very well-defined bottom, too.
I'm looking at it. First, I had one. I would say if in that scenario, I can only see 4 teams with a shot to be worst to first. The AFC East is wide open. The Dolphins, I thought, competed really hard last year, very aggressive in free agency, and it's a wide open division. Brady's not there anymore. Yeah, I think you give the Dolphins, go through them. Give the Dolphins, could it happen? Possibly. The favorite in the division is 8.5. They're 6.5. So the Dolphins are a possible. Bengals, no shot. Jags, I say no shot. Raiders, no shot. The NFC East, it's impossible. How many years in a row is it now?
The Chargers were 5-11 in the AFC West. They finished last. They had all those injuries last year.
You're right. No shot. Okay, you're right.
Is that no shot because you don't believe in the Chargers, or the Chiefs are just that good?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are that good, unless they're, the Super Bowl hangover. But I think the Chiefs, injuries happen, man. I mean, but I would say the Chiefs have to fall down to lose that division. The NFC East, we know it's impossible to repeat as a champion. So, right out of the gate there, Redskins are only projected at 5. I thought they had their moments last year. They were the one. How about the NFC North? The Packers, the Vikings now are going to be run and stop the run. The Bears, the quarterback situation. Remember the Lions? But now, and all this crap that's going on with everybody, saying stuff about Patricia walking out the door. But if you remember last year, I'm going from memory. Didn't the Lions? They started fast. And they had 2. If memory serves, for sure one of the games was the Chiefs. I could punch their schedule up here. But they had games against quality teams they gave away. They should have won. They blew the Arizona game. I remember that in the opener. They ended up tying, I believe.
Yep, they blew the Chiefs game right before but they could have been, conceivably, they could have been 4-0 going into the bye, beating Arizona, the Chargers, the Eagles, and the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, they were right there. And you got Stafford. I don't. Does anybody in the NFC North, overly wow you?
No, Minnesota's going to fall apart. I mean, they lost a lot of pieces on defense. They've lost some pieces on offense. They're kind of in like a sort of rebuild on the fly type of mode. Green Bay was a fraudulent team last year, and Chicago has no idea which end is up.
And maybe all the crap they're saying about Patricia and he's trying to be Belichick. Maybe Patricia has the come to Jesus moment, like Tom Coughlin did with the Giants. Okay, that clearly didn't work. I'm not relating with these guys. And maybe this guy lightens up and he's a smart football coach. I mean, believe me, you're making a case for the Lions here. You're definitely making the glass half full. But I don't think I think the Packers clearly, what I liked what the Packers did last year was shored up a defense and actually had a running game. So the Packers, But an injury to Aaron Rodgers and that division is throw it up in the air.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, the Panthers have no shot now, obviously, not with the Saints and the Falcons and Bucks, who are all much better than them. The Seahawks are going to drop back. The Rams are in process of dropping back. Is there any chance Arizona can be better than San Francisco and win the West?
Long shot, but is there a chance? I thought Murray did a lot of really good things as a rookie. I thought they were fun to watch. They showed a lot of fight to me. Murray could take a big step forward, and he's got Hopkins now. The Cardinals. If I gave you the Cardinals against the other three to not finish in the cellar, what would you do?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there's a realistic chance that the Rams are the last place team here.
That Rams thing, man. Boy, talk about going off the tracks.
If Russell Wilson got hurt for Seattle, that team might win 3 games.
Yeah. No, he's that good.
I mean, he just finds ways.
He had an MVP season last year, man. Let's cut to the chase.
I mean, if somebody gave me a decent price for the Cardinals to finish second to the 49ers, I'd be ecstatic to take it. I don't know what a decent price is off the top of my head, but I mean, if somebody gave, and there will be a bunch of, make playoffs, yes, no types of props. If somebody gave me a really nice plus number on the Cardinals to make the playoffs, obviously they'd have to do it as a wild card. I don't think I'd shy away from that. Is it really that hard to see the Cardinals being, the 6th highest record in this conference? I don't think so.
Sing a show tune or something. I'm looking their schedule up.
I don't know any show tunes. I can't sing either.
All right, let's just see who they play. They're playing the NFC East, it appears. Let's see real quick. At home they play. Wow, bud. At home, the Cardinals play. We know the division foes. Their home games are the Eagles, Redskins, Dolphins, Bills, and Lions. They can win some games there, man.
Those are winnable. Absolutely.
Their road games are twice in New York against the Giants and the Jets.
Those are winnable.
They're at Dallas, tough one.
Yeah.
At New England, a lot of question marks. And at Carolina, a lot of question marks. Arizona's, and we all know what that is when you're looking at a schedule. What looks tough today or easy today, how often does that work out? But, I mean, I'm not looking at it like it's a gauntlet, at least at this day.
No, it looks, maybe it's not Charmin soft, but maybe like a quilted northern kind of soft, something like that.
It all comes back to toilet paper at this day, doesn't it?
Always, absolutely. And I am a prima donna about toilet paper. I have to have the good stuff. I have to.
We went to the store, and it's like the long lines, and we're a couple weeks ago, 2,000 people in a line. It's insane, right? We're going through, and I was walking with my wife, and shuttling you through to the toilet paper line, and I said, "Boy, is there anybody that's dumb enough to do it?" Because no one's got a sense of humor. But you walk in and you can only get one packet of toilet paper and move on. If some guy went up there and started squeezing them, like in compare, I mean, someone would have take a baseball bat to the guy.
I mean, if it's single ply, I would argue I have to buy 2 of them, because I don't know of anybody that uses single ply unless they're in a public bathroom. So if it's single ply, you got to let me buy 2 of them. I got to double it up,
Well, okay. So then if you want to cut to the chase, then like when you're playing a road game and you're in a stall, who designed these things? That they were designed for jockeys.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute. I got to bend. Oh, you got to go all the way down just to try to get it out.
Well, and then you always get the dilemma, like, okay, the handicap stall's open, but I don't want to be that guy if somebody who needs it comes in.
Buddy, when nature calls.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, what's next? Everybody, you're going to get the handicap placard just to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't know. I try not to play too many road games. I either got to be neutral site or at home. That's pretty much how I am.
But there's there are different variations of sense of urgency when it comes to that. So
that's true.
Then,
that's very true.
Is the guy a dirt bag, or did he really have to go?
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. All right, from one shitty discussion to another here, I guess. All right, so let's talk some horse racing here. We got a lot of stuff that we can get to here talking some horse racing. And look, I mean, for a lot of people, it's the only game in town unless you know how to bet Belarusian hockey or Ukrainian table tennis or whatever the hell else people are actually trying to bet out there.
You know how to bet it. You don't know how to handicap it.
That's true. That's very true. So with horse racing, it can be very confusing for a lot of people. And it was confusing for me at the start. I'm kind of learning my way through it now a little bit more, trying to figure a lot of this stuff out. The program can be very helpful. Past performances can be very helpful as well. We'll talk about that here in a couple of minutes. But Brian, before we get to that, for people that don't know what they're doing, or people that are starting out, maybe starting out with a very limited bankroll because, they're just trying to find things to do and not go broke doing it, what are some of the bet types that you suggest? We've got win, that's pretty obvious. Place, finishing second. Show, finishing third. Win, place, and show. Exactas, trifectas, betting the top two, the top three, stuff like that. What do you sort of suggest to people that are kind of just starting out with horse racing?
Well, I would just say as a blanket statement that before we start doing this, 4 hours isn't enough. All right? There's that much. Yeah. And I'm being dead honest. What I would say, what I do, which that's me, is bet to win in place. And if your horse runs second virtually every time, unless the horse is even, 3-5 or even money. If you bet a 2-1 or a 5-2 horse, you bet win in place. As long as the horse you bet runs second, you're at the very least getting your money back. Okay? I mean, so that from a philosophical thing, and if the horse is 7-2, 4-1, you'll actually make money betting win in place. You'll make a little if the horse runs at least second. That would be, the from a stick your toe in the water thing, like right out of the gate, that would be my recommendation. If you're just going to start clowning around with a little bit until you get a level of comfort, bet win in place. So you're giving yourself a chance that even if the horse doesn't win the race, you get a chance to get your money back. A better chance to get your money back. That's a starting point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And especially, too, because, you're obviously trying to find the horse as you sort through the program or the daily racing form or whatever. You're trying to find a horse you think can win the race. And sometimes things happen. Sometimes a horse has a late close but just doesn't have enough to get there. Maybe he got bumped out of the starting gate. Maybe just kind of stumbled a little bit at the start, something like that. But you're trying to find a horse that you feel like can run at the front of the pack when all is said and done. And if they don't win, things kind of happen. So at least you give yourself kind of a safety net with finishing second.
Pretty much. That works. And, then you can tinker with exactas and trifectas. Obviously, you're trying to bet toothpicks to win a lumberyard. The one, and the other thing I would say, just generally speaking, coming in, and guys that have been doing this forever, and I was guilty of this for a lot of years, and then I'm like, idiot, what are you doing? I mean, if you're reading a form and you're like, everything sets up for this horse, and the horse is 6-5 or 8-5, and he's the favorite. But you're sitting there going, I think the horse should be 3-5. He towers over this. Or you're convinced, even if the horse is the favorite, I'm telling you, the percentage of people that are out there, or the people that regularly play horses, it's a grind, right? But they're out there going, and this is the word they use in the book, I can beat the prick. I'm going to beat him. I'm going to try to beat him. Well, but it's the same guy that had bet $110 to win $100 on a football game and the line's -3, right? I mean, it's basically a coin flip, to win even money on a football game, that it's the game that's on TV. And honestly, you're throwing a dart, but you'll do it. But the same guy will sit there, I'm going to beat this horse. when the horse is a plus price. We go nuts in a hockey game. Oh, man, the horse was plus. I bet that hockey team, they were plus $1.30. And you're sitting and telling me in a minute and 12 seconds, and I'm convinced the horse is going to win at 8-5. I'm going to try to beat it. Don't be afraid. And the favorite only wins 33% of the time. Know that. But at the same time, you don't have to hit the home run in every race. If you're convinced that a horse as the favorite is the best horse and you think it's his day, bet it.
So before we get really technical into looking at the program, looking at the past performances in the sheets, stuff like that, I just want to ask you some general questions here, things that have kind of crossed my mind as somebody trying to get better at betting horses, as somebody who's going to go to the track in the summertime with $100, drink 4 beers on a 75-degree day, and enjoy watching the horses, or somebody who's going to be a degenerate at home while there's no sports and sit there and play on my TVG account. If I'm looking at a horse and the horse has a different jockey, doesn't have to be a first-time jockey necessarily, but there has been a jockey change relative to previous races. How do you interpret that? Does that kind of make you shy away from the horse?
I have done seminars with for the Derby, the Breeders' Cup, with some big name people that are in the industry, and everybody's got their own MO. And yeah, you need the engine under the hood, but believe me, the Breeders' Cup. Oh, some guy won 4 races on the card. Jockeys like the horses get hot. The jockey matters. Now, I will tell you, I've made more money. My favorite jockey currently is Junior Alvarado. Well, Junior Alvarado went down and won the Risen Star down at Fairgrounds, and I think the horse paid $24. You can print money with Junior Alvarado on the turf in the New York racing circuit. And when I see Junior Alvarado get on a horse for the first time, I'm convinced of this. I've had people fight me on this, and they're wrong. When Junior Alvarado gets on a horse for the first time, and there are many guys like him, but when Junior Alvarado gets on a horse for the first time, and again, we could do this for 4 hours. You're trying to be a shrink. You're trying to say, what is the trainer doing here? Where has the trainer placed the horse? What change has the trainer made to give his horse the shot to take a step forward and win a race? Blinkers on, blinkers off, first time Lasix, second time Lasix. Does he make a jockey change? Well, if I see a guy, for argument's sake, like Junior Alvarado, who's a 22, 23% rider, and he's jumping on a horse for the first time, and the guy who previously had been riding the horse for the last 6 races, the guy's a 7% rider, how much further than you? I mean, it's right in front of your face. The guy's a better jockey. The horse has a better shot because he's got a better jockey. And a lot of people just thumb their nose at that.
Now, when you say a 22% jockey, that means win rate, correct?
Yes. And the other thing is, like when you look at apprentice riders and any jockey that's in a race, when you're using the form of the Brisnet thing, it's got the jockey stats. Here, if we're going to dive into a certain race, Luis Saez is a terrific rider. Now they actually they're making you do the math on this Brisnet thing. The percentage is not there. I've told you I'm a creature of the daily racing. But in 479 mounts, Luis Saez is 195 times. Well, okay, so it's great to say, oh yeah, he's a 20-some% rider. But beyond that, you look, he ran second 72 times and he ran third 62 times. So what's that? 168. So literally more than half the time when a jockey like Luis Saez at Gulfstream Park is riding a horse, more than half of every time he gets on the back of a horse, he's in the money. So it's not just do they win, is he always giving you a run for your money? That's a big part of it too.
For what it's worth, exact math on that, 19.8% win rate, 47.8% getting on the board in the top 3 for Saez. And obviously, too, I mean, you sort of want to look through the rest of the jockeys in that particular race and say, okay, well, Luis Saez isn't going up against Julian Leparoux. He's not going up against Joel Rosario. Those guys aren't in that race. So you've got to think that probably helps him out a little bit.
Let me tell you something. To go back to your initial question, and again, I ain't kidding you. Adam, I mean, I ain't even close to joking with you. We can sit here for another 5 hours and scratch the surface on things you can look for. I mean, you're reading them, there's a lot of stuff to dissect here. But I will tell you, some of the biggest money-making days I've had are the Derby, the Belmont, the Preakness, the Breeders' Cup, playing the other tracks. Because the best jockeys in the jockey colony at all these tracks have all vacated the premises to go to Churchill Downs on Derby Day and race on the undercard. And all of a sudden, if you're saying a middle-tier journeyman or a quality rider that maybe for whatever reason just didn't have a Derby mount that year, and for argument's sake, if a Junior Alvarado is left behind in New York and the Ortiz brothers in 2 or 3 or 4 of the really high-end jockeys that usually get, because the jockey agent's the most important guy in all of this. The jockey agent's the guy that puts his guy on the best horse. Those are the guys you got to know what they're doing. But when the best jockeys vacate the premises, and now all of a sudden I got a guy like, I'm using him as an example, but I got a Junior Alvarado going against a batch of 8 and 9% jockeys that win occasionally. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there going, he's going to outride these guys probably more than half the time, and he's left behind, but he's going to have a field day weekend. And I swear that on the big days, the money can also be made at the tracks that aren't staged in the big races, because there's a solid jockey or two that's been left behind in the wake of the guys that departed the premises.
Now, obviously, too, a lot of people like to look at the names and, maybe they're with their significant others and they want to bet based on name and stuff like that. But something that's always there along with the name is the sire and the dam, which are the parents of that horse. How much do you factor bloodline into the equation as you're looking through the handicap of a race?
Massive. At the beginning of last summer, Tony Neville at Treasure Island, the sportsbook director, great guy, loves horse racing. He and I will be looking for Derby futures and clown around and find horses and call each other. And it didn't take 2 weeks. And he spots stuff and calls me. Well, I spotted one, at the very beginning of the year, the 2-year-old crop comes out. This happens every year. So all of a sudden, there's a new crop of new sires that just finished their racing and have gone to the breeding shed. And I saw 3 in a row it happen. I said to Tony, Bud, I think we got something here. I said, any first-time starter being sent to post, I don't care where they are, sired by Into Mischief. They run like reindeer. They're bred to win early. They're rocket sleds. It's incredible. Buddy, I am not kidding you. We hit at least 20, 25 horses, first-time starters over the summer, that entire summer, starters by Into Mischief. Ended up being, I don't have it in front of me. If you look that up, it was Into Mischief maybe was the top freshman sire. So yes, does it matter? The answer is yes. There are turf horses that are bred for the slop, sires that were turf monsters and their progeny. All the Kitten's Joy horses they're bred by Ken and Sarah Ramsey. You're nuts not to use them if you're playing exactas and tries. Any turf race, a horse sired by Kitten's Joy. So yes, it's massive.
Yeah, and I've seen that too, going to the local track here, Thistledown, where anytime the sire is a Derby horse or any kind of Triple Crown horse or something like that, it almost doesn't matter. They wind up getting bet at least to the second favorite, if not the favorite in that race, just because of the bloodline. So if you do pick up some names that from previous Derby races or something like that, definitely worth considering, to say the least. How about this one? How about track changes? How about horses that have kind of bounced around to different places? For example, we're looking at the 6th race here at Gulfstream Park on Wednesday. That's what we've got up on the program here. Horses that have run at, let's say Keeneland, or horses that have run previously at Churchill Downs or Del Mar or something like that. and now they're at Gulfstream Park, and in particular, maybe for a first or second race at Gulfstream Park. What does that mean to you when horses have kind of bounced around to different tracks?
It used to be my favorite betting animal, and it doesn't really exist anymore. They call it Gulfstream Park West now. It's old Calder Racecourse. And basically Gulfstream Park is kind of taking over that entire circuit. There's shorter meets, and it's a real cheaper horses on the Florida circuit that race there. But Calder used to be, right there with Gulfstream Park in the winter. And it was a deep, cuppy, it was almost like, relatively speaking, like racing in quicksand. The times weren't fast. And I'm telling you, Adam, I would sit there, and every day, the first thing I'd look for in the summer months is a horse racing at Aqueduct, or is he racing at Parks, or is he racing at Laurel, or did a horse go to Churchill Downs? But the horse's last race was at Calder. These horses, after racing at Calder, would go to other tracks, win by the length of the stretch at 15-1. Because they left this deep, cuppy surface and then went to a place that was shaved down to the nub. So your point is, yes, there's a sneaky track in the summer months, Presque Isle Downs in Erie. Well, it's a synthetic surface, but the purses are through the roof because they've got slots there. So even though it looks like a nothing burger, you think it's a nothing burger thing. The racing's really good there. But the quality of the horses that are there, because they're racing for overlaid ridiculous prices. When horses go from Presque Isle to Churchill Downs, in the beginning when Presque Isle opened, people thought, the horse came from Presque Isle. Like, no, you should be thinking the other way. Oh, my God, the horse came from Presque Isle. Those were good horses that were there. So you absolutely look for stuff like that. And what a $5,000 claimer is at Parks isn't a $5,000 claimer at Laurel. So there's different tiers with the pay structure and the purse structure. Again, and we've got about 4 hours left.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. I look at number 2 in the 6th race, and that's Kiffle, who ran at Thistledown over the summer, then went to Mountaineer when Thistledown's season was over, now running for the second time at Gulfstream Park, spent last spring, it looks like, at Oaklawn. But that's a horse that if it came back to Thistledown in the summertime, I'm going to go, ooh, okay. That was running at Gulfstream Park in the spring. So does that is that something you want to look at? Because I would assume if you're running at Gulfstream or Oaklawn or Santa Anita or Del Mar or something like that, all of a sudden you find yourself at Thistledown, you've probably been running against better crops of horses, right?
So we'll see. Buddy, honestly, like this race, we're looking at race 6 on March 25th at Gulfstream Park. The starting point, the starting point are what are the conditions of the race? It's an optional claiming allowance race. All right. And the conditions are, this is, for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up, which have never won $10,000 twice, other than a maiden claiming starter or straight bred allowance. And the condition goes on and on and on. It's like, what? I mean, you're reading that, somebody's reading that for the first time going, what the hell are you talking about? So the trainer for the horse you're talking about, who is, I believe, the longest shot on the board at 12-1, Kiffle, the trainer is Bob Hess. So he has 78 races at the Gulfstream meet. He's sent 78 horses to post in the Gulfstream meet. This is just a horse in his barn, right? Now, he's probably got a lot better horses that are there and are running and they're competing. And this could be a horse that on February 27th, he raced on the turf there, finished 5th. He throws him back in this race. And this could be just another race. Take a shot, sure. You hope you can cash a number. The horse hits the board, and they make a little money and feed the horse. But particularly this horse, it could be, if he's got 15 horses in his stable, this could be number 13, in terms of the quality of the horse. But this race could be nothing more than, hey, from here, Bob Hess, when this meet's over, he's going to go to, I don't know, he's not, but say he's going to Laurel, right? Well, the horse maybe competes in subsequent races down the road. This race could be nothing more than a glorified workout for this horse, because the races he really can compete in are when the trainer leaves here and moves his barn somewhere else.
Well, and this too, I mean, this is a horse that hit the board a lot at Thistledown and Mountaineer. So, again, when it comes back to those places, maybe that's a good opportunity
Exactly.
to take a shot on him.
Exactly. So if this horse ends up going back to Thistle, all of a sudden, no, this horse is 12-1 on the morning line. But when this horse goes back to Thistle, this horse is probably 5-2 morning line.
And something else we didn't mention here. Now, we'll start digging into the program now. And again, I know we're going to run along with this. I apologize. If you got something to do, tell me to shut up.
I'm going to take a bite of something here. Go ahead.
We'll finish this a little bit later on. But 6 furlongs, distance, very important, because you'll run into a race where it's, 1 1/16 miles, and the horse has never done that before. Or you'll run into a race like this that's 6 furlongs where, even the first horse, who's 8-1, Mischief Moss, has run a couple of 1 mile races. The last race for Kiffle on turf, 1 1/16 miles, said it weakened later in the race. The 3 horse, that's run a lot of 6 furlong races on down from there. So the distance is important to take a look at too.
Yeah. All right. So this race, for argument's sake, 7 horse field. This is what I would normally do. And since we have nothing but time on our hands. All right. Now, this is Brisnet, and no knock on them. I'm a creature of the racing form, where I can look at, 2 horses in this field could be going in the gate. I could look at the form, scan through it, and form an opinion. And honestly, it's how I handicap, which sounds nuts. But to me, I do it almost by design, unless I'm playing pick 3s and pick 4s. Because when I'm reading the form right, my first reaction, their first impression is I'm right more often than not. And the more I stare at, the more I'll overthink it and try to make a case for something that isn't there. And that's why the big days are so hard. A, you can make a case for 8 horses in a 12-horse field, and B, you're overthinking it. But a race like this, I would grab the form and I'd look. 1, Mischief Mass, 8-1. Second race off the claim, coming off a layoff with a bug rider. Horse comes from off the pace. Kiffle, the 2, 12-1. Speed when routing and while sprinting. Second race off the shelf, going turf to dirt. 3, Just Ain't Right, 8-1. Second race off the shelf, also going turf to dirt. This horse stalks, comes from just off the pace. Pretty good workouts. 4, Blazing Betsy, real inconsistent horse. Can't stay on the racetrack. Something's physically wrong with this horse. The horse can't string races together. The 5's the big favorite, 9-5, leads a start. This horse gets the lead, a clear lead. The race is over, but it's coming off the shelf. Works for the return. The 6, Day by Day, has tactical speed, sits just off the 5. And then the 7, this one has won 3 in a row, also coming off the shelf, but has won races from off the shelf by open lanes. So now, real quick, I look at it. I think the 5 gets the lead, but the 2 could conceivably go, press the 5 into a pace duel. The 6 would get first run at the favorite, and the 1, if there's a prolonged speed duel, the 1 with the best closing kick at 9-2 is the 7, Flat Awesome Jenny. Paco Lopez has the mount. Really like the works for the 7. If the 5 gets the lead right out of the gate, my race is done. If the 2 or the 6 presses the 5, to me, the race is set up for the 7. I would bet the 7 to win in place. There you go. That's what I would do.
So basically what you're looking at there, and again, there are obviously a lot of numbers, a lot of things going on when you talk about the program and the past performances. You're basically looking at the quarter marks of, is it in the lead? Is it at the front? If it's slow early out of the gate, does it progressively get better? And those are those numbers, going towards the left of where the jockey's name is, where it's the post position, kind of how it started out of the gate, quarter, half, so on and so forth. So that's kind of what you're looking at. You're sort of looking at the progression of the horse over the course of the race.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at the form, I'm playing the race out in my head. Okay, the gate opens. The 5's going to the lead. Does the 2 go with them? And the 6 just sits just off the 2 and the 5. then the jockey on the 6 has to make a decision at the quarter pole. Did the 2 go with the 5? And if it's going to press the 5, I'll sit. If the 2 doesn't go with the 5, then the 6 realizes its only shot is to take that shot to go and press the horse. So it's the old adage, pace makes the race. If the 5 gets the clear lead, now the horse is out there doing it all on his lonesome, all by himself. Jockey gets the horse to relax. And then when the serious running begins, when they turn for home, he pushes the button and the horse keeps going. But if the 5 is in this prolonged battle, bobbing heads, bumping along into the first turn, and is exerting all this energy to get the lead, which is the horse's preferred running style, it's exerting all this energy because it's in a battle. And then the horse, the 5 gets the chance to relax and take a breather if it gets a clear lead. If it doesn't, it's in a battle. The horse that's the stalker can take a breather and sit right behind them. And if that battle ends up being a 3-horse battle, then the one that's preferred running style is every time this horse goes to the track, it's just going to go at the back and stage one big run. And then it's what did the pace scenario play out? Who does it benefit the most? You're trying to envision the race as you're reading a piece of paper. You're closing your eyes and saying, this is how it will run. I mean, that's long-winded, man, but that's basically it.
No, I completely get it. And for our listeners out there, I'm going to put a link to this program in the podcast recap over at bangthebook.com. So you can check that out, follow along with this as we're talking about it. Just rewind the segment. Probably should have mentioned that off the top, so I apologize for that. But I will put a link in the recap over at bangthebook.com. So I guess my question is this.
I'm going to tell you, I would bet the 7.
Okay.
But the 7's going to take a lot of money because Paco Lopez is in there. The sneaky horse in the race. And you can't give them all. But I do think that there will be the 2 or the 6 will have to go with the 5. They realize it's their only chance. They can't let the 5 get the lead. And if the battle ensues, I like the 7. Now, the only question with the 7 is this horse can't stay at the races either. It's consistently coming off layoffs. So I don't, if the horse has foot problems or whatever. The sneaky horse is the 1, Mischief Moss. This is another one this one has not raced since last May. And how horses do off a long layoff, I see in the daily racing form, they would have a little category underneath with little really useful things that would give you. The trainer is Monica McGoey. And I got to be honest with you, I have never heard of Monica McGoey. Not hit, pretty good. 33 races, 3-2-4, win, play, show. But they will give you the trainer's record with horses off a long layoff because a lot of, they could have them ready to fire, or a trainer by design, the horse needs a race and it's the last part of a workout regimen. But this horse is interesting because it gets a bug rider, Alberto Burgos aboard, who's okay, no great shakes. But at this level, the caliber of horse, they're not that great. All the other horses are carrying 121 pounds. This is a bug rider at Gulfstream Park. So the kid's getting a break in weight. This horse is only carrying 114 pounds. And believe me, the 7 pounds makes a difference. So the 1 is a sneaky, real good price play that if I were using pick 3s in this race, I'd eliminate the 2, I'd eliminate the 3, I'd eliminate the 4. If I was going to play a pick 3 down the road in a race like this, I would absolutely use the 1. I would tell you that. I'd use the 1. The chances I believe that can win this race are the 1, 5, 6, and 7. So I've eliminated the 2, 3, and 4. And that's another thing. Can scratch some off. Okay, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I've eliminated those horses.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. If it just kind of makes the process a little bit easier to just cross horses off right away. And then, kind of focus a little bit more on the ones that you think have a really good shot. So,
one other little thing, and again, you tell me, man.
I don't
we can do this every day of the week. But what I would say to you, if you want a way to really make a score, is if you're handicapping your races, like I was saying, I got the 9-5 horse. I just don't see any way this horse loses a race. A way to do it is go 2 races back. And all right, I'm going to put a pick 3 together. And you're looking at a race with 9 horses and you're going, oh my God, any one of these horses can win, or this is wide open, or I think this favorite's phony. I'm taking a real stand against the favorite in this race. You can make a real hit when you hit the all button in the first leg of a pick 3 and just hope that a long shot wins, because you're saying, boy, this is a brutal race to handicap. If it's hard for me, it's hard for everybody else. Anything can win this race. And you get a 15-1 in the first leg of the pick 3. And then you come into the middle race, and I narrowed it down between these 2. All right, yeah, I like this horse. He's a kind of chalky, and here's my long shot play. And you hit all with 2 horses with the horse you absolutely love in the third leg of that thing, and you hit the all button. If say it was 9 horses in the first race, 2 in the second, and the horse you love in the back end, $1 pick 3 would be 9 times 2 would cost you $18. A 50-cent pick 3 would cost you $9. But you could get a price to the moon on the favorite horse you like if a long shot wins in the race you couldn't figure out. I mean, that's a math money management kind of thing. Instead of betting 20-20 on a horse that I love, I could bet $18 on the pick 3, and by the time you get to that, and you look at the will pays on the pick 3 if you're alive, the $20 was going to get you $40 back if the horse was even money, but the pick 3 could be paying $350 because an 18-1 shot won 2 horse races back. So you got to handicap the math and the money management part of it too.
Honestly, man, I got to say I love this. I love being able to talk horse racing. It's a market that I'm getting increasingly more familiar with, but I've always enjoyed it. I enjoy the study. I enjoy the research, which is why I'm, such a big baseball guy. This is fun, man. This has been fun. I've appreciated your breakdown. I apologize for taking up so much of your time here today, but
buddy, I'll miss my radio shows if we keep going, because we're not even close. I mean, we got another 8 hours.
Pick it up again next Tuesday.
Yeah, honestly, it is one of the true joys of it, because we're all, it is bottom line. Do you win? It is horse racing is my true source of enjoyment. Like, if I had nothing but time on my hands, I could sit down and play horses from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. And I do that on weekends. I mean, I'm trying to make money. I love the challenge of it. I mean, you are literally, it's a Rubik's Cube. It's an entertaining Rubik's Cube. You're trying to figure it out. And as much as it is about making the money, it's the source of enjoyment of trying to solve the puzzle.
Yeah, that's what I get out of it too. Is being able to solve that puzzle, and obviously want to win as much as I can, but it is fun. I mean, it's a different thing to take a look at. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of studying for a race that lasts a minute and a half or whatever. But I think it's something good to pass the time now with everything that's going on, and good opportunities too.
We've done trips. We go to Del Mar, in the summer, and they're lining up for the the 5th race and the ocean in the distance, and everybody's like, "Where's Brian?" Well, Brian's up at the top of the grandstand, watching a simulcast monitor, watching the 4th race at Evangeline Downs. I mean, it's like I can't get enough of it.
Well, you want to continue this discussion next Tuesday? Maybe we take another look at the Gulfstream Wednesday card.
Sure, man.
All right, sounds good to me. Brian Blessing, the host of Sportsbook Radio and Vegas Hockey Hotline. I don't know if you talk a whole lot of horse racing on Sportsbook Radio. You talk a lot of hockey on Vegas Hockey Hotline.
No, in fact, Tony Neville was in last week, and the irony of it is we had talked about this last week, that horse racing, we could do something along the lines of what you just did, is more, hey, new people are paying attention to it, and we were almost going to be maybe kind of doing the same sort of thing today on Sportsbook Radio. It just kind of worked out that way, that we did it too. And, I mean, how am I going to do that in 20 minutes? But with him, but we're gonna have some fun. Bruce Marshall will be on. Vegas Hockey Hotline, we're soldiering on. Bill Foley was on with us last week. Got the owner's perspective. Yesterday, Kelly, you can go on my Twitter, Brian Blessing, Kelly McCrimmon. Really interesting conversation with the Golden Knights general manager, joined us yesterday about the challenges that the organizations are facing because the calendar year is all messed up now. They can't be, it's hard for them in terms of scouting prospects and the challenges that all the GMs are facing in this uncertain time. And you know what, Bud? And he said when he came on, like when I was leading into him, he goes, what you were, I don't know exactly exact words, but he said, but to play off what you were saying, you're right, is that some organizations are going to deal with this adversity better than others. Some teams are going to get it right. Some teams are going to fail miserably with their scouting department and the way this thing's been derailed. So that was a really interesting conversation with the Golden Knights general manager, Kelly McCrimmon. That's at sportsbookradio.com. And we're still clowning around having some fun with Cam Stewart on the Hockey Betting Podcast. I put that out on my Twitter account at Brian Blessing, and it's also available at betchriscanada.net. So we're finding, as if you didn't find a new way for me to kill time today, we got God bless sports, right? Even though we don't have it, there's still stuff we talk about, and we love doing it.
Absolutely, man. We're definitely keeping busy here, and I appreciate you keeping me busy here for a good long period of time on the show and for our listeners as well. Again, Brian Blessing, the host of Sportsbook Radio and Vegas Hockey Hotline, at Brian Blessing on Twitter. I appreciate your time every single week, man. It means the world to me. I love these segments. Thank you so much for doing them with me, and we'll talk some more horse racing next week.
And we should do, and I know you do, is thank the people that listen, because we do, it means something to us, right? We get a lot of nice feedback on social media from people that listen, and we probably put them through a buzzsaw today as long as we went, but we thank the people that listen, because we enjoy doing it.
Absolutely. Thank you to everybody that's out there, and thank you once again to you, Brian Blessing. We'll chat again next week, buddy.
Have a good day.
All right, there you go. There's Brian Blessing, and at Brian Blessing on Twitter, sportsbookradio.com, kshp.com to get his 2 daily shows. No show tomorrow for us on Bang the Book Radio. I'll be back on Thursday with a new edition of the Bettor's Box. What was supposed to be opening day, unfortunately, is not, but I'll come up with some good baseball betting information and insight for you on that program. That'll do it for me. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and I will talk to you again on Thursday.